Qiang Jin Jiu. Book 1, I Was an Outcast Liege. Chapter 67, Sharing a Pillow. Shen Zequan was in a slight daze as Xiao Qiye's stubble rubbed against his palm until it felt ticklish. He gazed at Xiao Qiye and said, "Prickly. Does it not feel comfortable to the touch?" Xiao Qiye asked. Shen Zequan replied, "Comfortable." Both men were just a short distance apart, yet it seemed as if there was no gap between them. Xiao Qiye was dirty and unkempt. He hardly had time to spare these few days to tidy himself up. Now, he leaned close to Shen Zequan, giving no regard to his slovenly state as he let Shen Zequan touch him. Chen Yang gripped the door curtain, reckoning that it was about time. He wanted to let the others enter, but then he did not hear Xiao Qiye give his permission, so he remained stuck at the entrance with a group of guards, each of them either staring at the sky or on the ground with a blank expression. "Does it feel good touching it?" Xiao Qiye could not help but laugh out. "Almost." Shen Zequan pursed his lips and whispered into Xiao Qiye's ear, "So prickly, it's hurting me." "Where does it hurt?" Xiao Qiye tilted his head and pressed his forehead against his. Shen Zequan gazed at him with eyes that seemed like mountain lakes moistened with fog. He put that bit of yearning for more in those eyes and revealed it all to Xiao Qiye as he exchanged gazes with him. Even the corners of his eyes contained the barest hint of faintly discernible emotion. Xiao Qiye suddenly covered Shen Zequan's eyes. After a moment's pause, he said, "This is not the right time to egg me on, is it?" Shen Zequan said, "What are you thinking about?" "I'm just looking at you." "You're not allowed to look." Xiao Qiye said, "Do it when we get back." Outside, Chen Yang let out a few coughs and raised his voice to say, "Master." Xiao Qiye shifted his palm away, stood up, and said, "Come in." Only then did Chen Yang lifted the curtain, and everyone entered in a single file. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. Shen Zequan leaned against the pillow with an overcoat draped over him. As he drank the medicine, he listened to them recount the details of what had transpired in recent days. When Qiao Tianya was done speaking, he contemplated for a moment before he said, "That's right. There's something suspicious about this matter from start to end. I also suspect that the collapse of Ahua Pavilion is not a coincidence, but a deliberate act that took advantage of the opportunity offered by the blockage of Donglong Street's public ditches. It has only been half a year since His Majesty's ascension to the throne. With so many things waiting to be done now, it's just the time for everyone to get their big break." Xiao Qiye sat on the bench beside him. Who could bear to let him die? This was also what Shen Zequan could not figure out. He finished his medicine and handed the bowl to Qiao Tianya, then said, "We can't very well investigate matters in the palace. We need to have a suitable person on the inside before we can do it." It was not a good thing for the position of the brush-holding director of the Directorate of Ceremonies to be vacant. Xiao Qiye and Shen Zequan both could not interfere in matters within the palace. That was the Empress Dowager's territory. The Empress Dowager had the final say over who would be appointed to the post in the future. But it was better than nothing. If they had a planted agent inside, then that would also be a lot better than being completely blind. When Shen Zequan thought to this point, he suddenly asked, "You wanted to investigate Xiang Yun the last time. Did you find out anything?" Xiao Qiye said, "I was so busy I forgot about that." Gu Jin stepped out and said, "I didn't find out any crucial information when I went to Shangyun Villa. Shangyun has only those few patrons. I checked them out one by one, and none of them had anything to do with the perjury matter the last time." Shen Zequan somehow kept feeling as though there was something he had missed. There was an unseen hand pulling strings behind the scenes that gave rise to these incidents. There must have been some causal relationship between them. He lost himself in his thoughts again. He did not know if it was because he had just recovered from a bout of illness, but no matter how he thought, he could not figure out the link. His Majesty is still unconscious, and his disease has not completely subsided. We still have a few days to spare. There is no rush at this point in time. As Xiao Qiye spoke, he moved his shoulders and arms. The public ditches are now unclogged. So, everyone should rest well on the next few days. This matter will eventually be resolved. It's now more important to conserve our strength and energy for the next stage. The guards echoed in agreement and retreated out of the house. Once they were all gone, Xiao Qiye sat at the edge of the bed and took off his boots. You've gotten your fill of sleep, but the second young master is still barely hanging on. Xiao Qiye lay down beside Shen Zequan and said, "Come closer. Be my blanket and cover me." Shen Zequan turned his head sideways and said, "Sleep with an overcoat draped over you." Xiao Qiye closed his eyes and said, "You do it?" Shen Zequan tucked the pillow under Xiao Qiye's neck. Xiao Qiye made a blind grab for Shen Zequan's hand and grasped his wrist in passing. Then he pulled Shen Zequan towards him and embraced him. "Too thin," Xiao Qiye touched him. "So much that your bones jab against me when I hug you. Once autumn arrives, the wild game from Liege will be here, too. You'll need all the nourishment you can get then, and you'll be able to fatten up by the time winter comes." Xiao Qiye's breathing was slightly heavy. Feeling sleepy, he turned his head and pressed the tip of his nose against Shen Zequan's temple. Then he forced a smile and said, "Sleep with your second young master for a while." Xiao Qiye was exhausted. He had not got any sleep in these past few days as he had to stay awake during both day and night like a lone wolf pacing around his base. No matter how physically strong he was, the time would eventually when his strength and energy would become exhausted. Shen Zequan was on top of him. Xiao Qiye found this weight to be just perfect, with the pressure on him making him feel warm and content. Xiao Qiye initially wanted to sleep for a while so he could do a proper tally at night for the medicinal herb expenses incurred over the last few days. But who knew that he would sleep until the third quarter of the hour of yin the next day? Still in a trance when he woke up, he turned on his side and buried himself between Shen Zequan's arms. Xiao Qiye was momentarily dazed before his mind suddenly cleared. He propped himself up for a look. Turned out that his head had slipped off the pillow last night, and he had been lying on Shen Zequan's arm for the latter half of the night. Shen Zequan had turned to his side with his head resting on the pillow, while his other hand had pulled over the overcoat and covered him with it. This was a posture similar to a protective hug. Dawn had yet to come. It was dark inside the room. Xiao Qiye fell back onto the pillow and hugged Shen Zequan over to himself, face first. The overcoat just about covered both of them. He asked in a husky voice, "Did I make your arm numb?" Shen Zequan was half awake as he let out an affirmative hum. Xiao Qiye rubbed Shen Zequan's stiff arm and said, "Why didn't you wake me up?" "Warmed," Shen Zequan said, "second young master Xiao." Xiao Qiye said, Shen Zequan opened his eyes to look at him and said, "You were calling out for Shen Lanzhou in your sleep." Xiao Qiye smiled and kept his voice down as he said, "Just dreaming about what I think of in the daytime." Both of them were very close to one another. The way Shen Zequan gazed at him made Xiao Qiye's body and heart both warm. His recently recharged energy from having slept long enough was bursting. He wanted to tease Shen Zequan, but at the same time, he also wanted to let Shen Zequan sleep. Some random bird was cooing outside, sending a ripple reverberating through the silent night. Xiao Qiye said, "Was the reason you asked about Xiangyun earlier because you thought of something?" Shen Zequan said, "Where did Muru came from? Was she the girl that the former emperor bought?" "She was a birthday gift the manor down there gave to His Majesty." Xiao Qiye wrapped his arms around Shen Zequan. "At first, she was kept in the manor. It took a lot of effort just to train her. I saw from her registered birthplace that she's a native of the Jin city. Do you think it's her? Because of the assassination attempt, His Majesty came to detest eunuchs completely. There has never been any eunuch he's on close terms with after Xuanlu. The palace maids who usually wait upon him by his side are all carefully selected people. The only person who can egg him on and help him out of the palace is Miru. Shenzequan lost himself in his thoughts again as he spoke. If it's her, there must be a reason. She does not have an imperial heir at present. She can only live if His Majesty is alive. So, she should be more concerned about His Majesty's safety more than anyone else. That's the thing. Xiao Qiye said. The one who can pull off such a scheme must have thought it through carefully. There has to be a reason. The late emperor's sudden death and the Hua clan's subsequent fall from power did not simply result in the removal of a few wuxia hats. It even affected the situational arrangements of the Great Zhou's various lands. In the past 6 months, Hai Lianji has been locked in a stalemate in his face-off with the noble clans and barely managed to stabilize the situation. It would benefit no one if the current emperor were to meet with misfortune now. We have to wait for His Majesty to wake up before we can know more. Shenzequan said. The Ministry of Works made such a slip-up this time. Pan Xiangzhe will be hard-pressed to absolve himself of blame. He will definitely be censured and held back for investigation. Have you seen the governmental clerk from the Ministry of Works, Liang Qiushan? Yes, I've seen him. Xiao Qiye thought for a moment. He is one diligent man. I got him to keep a detailed record of all the medicinal herbs coming and going these days. Once we go out, the Ministry of Revenue and the Chief Surveillance Bureau will come to check the accounts. You just have to hand over this book to them. Well done. Xiao Qiye was not stingy with his praises. When the epidemic broke out, there was no time at all to wait for the memorandum to come from the palace. I got my men to get the herbs from the medicine shops. The Imperial Army has our own handwritten notes on record. But, when all is said and done, it's not as convincing as the testimony of a man from the Ministry of Revenue. With this book, the Imperial Army and the Ministry of Revenue won't have to rip into each other apart. Xiao Qiye hated to deal with the officials from the Ministry of Revenue. It was so much trouble just to reconcile accounts with them every year. With this major issue of the public ditches being clogged, those old foxes might even think of dragging the Imperial Army into the mire so as to put the Grand Secretariat in a spot. After all, the law could not be enforced if everyone was an offender. The beginning of spring was also the most complicated time for political affairs, where piled-up mountains of official documents instantly gave the Grand Secretariat a massive headache. You have no wish to see the Ministry of Revenue, and they are also afraid to see you. Shenzequan laughed. The matter of silk from Quan City from the last time implicated Wang Xian. I see that he has already been transferred to the Ministry of Rights. Was that your handiwork? I bear no personal grudge against him. The collections of debts in the past were simply official business. Because of me, he was implicated and slapped with an ill reputation for bribery. Shifting him over to the Ministry of Rights is merely a stopgap measure. Xiao Qiye said. His hope of getting an outstanding remarks on this inspection is definitely dashed. Even if he's appointed a post outside the capital, he'll only be sent to somewhere remote and barren. Wang Xian was unlucky. He originally served as the secretary in the Ministry of Revenue and had a very hard time dealing with Xiao Qiye. A few years ago, when the Imperial Army's equipment was worn out, Xiao Qiye was the one who personally hemmed him in to reconcile accounts and hound him for money every time they carried out manual labor. He had no personal relationship with Xiao Qiye to speak of at all. Who would have expected an unexpected calamity to come flying out of the blue? Xiao Qiye was denounced before the emperor, and by sheer coincidence, those silks from Quan City passed through his hands. There was no way he could explain himself. In the end, Xiao Qiye and Liege unhung fell back on their brotherly ties and acted out the roles of a harmonious ruler and his minister. But he was stripped of his secretary post for real and was almost incarcerated. He could no longer be an official in Chu capital now, and even if he were to be assigned a post outside the capital, there was nowhere decent to go. He even got an assessment of negligence of duty for the inspection. Half a lifetime of prudence and caution was completely wasted. What a grave injustice. But something clicked in Shen Zequin's mind, and he said, "Don't tell me you are thinking of making use of this opportunity and assign him to Zongbo." Xiao Qiye laughed and said, "To think you could even guess this." Xiao Qiye gave Wang Xian a helping hand and had him moved to the Ministry of Rights. At the very least, the latter managed to secure his job and means of livelihood. In the past, Wang Xian disliked him, but now he had to be deeply grateful to him. Xiao Qiye planned to transfer Wang Xian to Zongbo when the latter was appointed to a post outside the capital. At present, Zongbo was full of rogues and bandits. Everyone all wanted to put their own people in there. We can't get close to other places. But we must plant manpower in Xe province. Xiao Qiye relaxed and said, "That was a good suggestion you gave for the demolition subsidy." Xe province's prefectural prefect, Zhou Gui, is currently on good terms with us. He will naturally understand the implication if we put Wang Xian under his command. Supervision will definitely be the emphasis on the 6 prefectures of Zongbo this year, but no matter who the imperial court deploys over, Xe province has to remain under my watch. Xe province was in the vicinity of the northeast supply route. By doing this, Xiao Qiye was keeping an eye from where he was in Chu capital on the main entrances to the granaries for the Liege armored cavalry. He and Xiao Jiming had hardly exchanged correspondences, but the two brothers understood each other perfectly. The silk from Quan City is a latent danger. If Fu Linye had not been too eager for fast returns and messed up by some unusual coincidence, then this account would be a blade buried deep in the Imperial Army's account book. Shen Zequin moved his head and said, "Was this account handled by Shueziaozuo?" "That's him, all right." Xiao Qiye said. "Shueziaozuo, huh? What do you think of him?" "I didn't really pay him any notice at first. But I checked his evaluations for the past few years' inspections, and they were all outstanding. He joined the imperial court during the reign of Emperor Yanji in the last 3 years of Emperor Guancheng. It was only when Emperor Xian descended to the throne that he assumed the post of Chief Supervising Secretary in the Ministry of Revenue. He held this position for 8 years until the sudden rebellion at Nanlin hunting grounds last year. He was then promoted and transferred to the Court of Judicial Review, where he became the Assistant Minister of the Court of Judicial Review. He then went on to handle 2 major cases that concern the safety of His Majesty the Hua and Pan Ragui's rebellion case and the Feast of 100 Officials' assassination case. He has a good reputation, has extensive contacts in the 8 great clans, and is on good terms with the officials from humble backgrounds headed by Hai Lianji. Shen Zequin pondered over it for a moment before saying, "But I know nothing of his background before he entered the imperial court." "I know of it pretty well." Xiao Qiye said, "Ask me." Shen Zequin raised his eyebrows slightly and said, "Tell me. Why doesn't that sound like someone who is asking a favor?" Xiao Qiye gathered the overcoat around him and put his head to Shen Zequin's. "I'll tell you only if you coax me until I'm satisfied." He was only saying this frivolously, partially to tease Shen Zequin. He did not expect Shen Zequin to look at him, part his lips to puff out a breath, and murmured under hot and soft breath at such close proximity, "See Ian." That tiny puff of damp heat landed on Xiao Qiye's cheeks and edged along his straight nose to the front of his lips. Both men touched, almost imperceptibly. Xiao Qiye suddenly rolled over and propped himself up above Shen Zequin, leaving a space between them. He pinched Shen Zequin's chin to correct its position and said, "All talk and no action. The second young master won't fall for it." End chapter. Qiang Jin Jiu. Book 1, I Was an Outcast Liege. Chapter 68, Love-Making. "Then what do you want me to do?" Shen Zequin narrowed his eyes from the pinch, making it hard to tell if he was feeling discomfort or pleasure. His expression was very alluring, as if fanning the flames. The light that was coming through the window was faint. Xiao Qiye observed Shen Zequin at this close distance. He reached out and stroked the corner of Shenzequan's lips with his thumb, then he said, "Why don't you feel it for yourself? I'm afraid someone will say one thing but mean another." Shenzequan's lips parted and closed as he spoke. The tip of his tongue appeared indistinctly, casting moist warmth on Xiao Qiye's thumb, yet Xiao Qiye could not touch a thing. "Who's acting contradictorily?" Xiao Qiye leaned over and pressed down on him. "This second young master is so honest." "Honest indeed." Shenzequan sighed. "You're so hard. I just had my fill of sleep." Xiao Qiye was feeling him up. "And I've been abstaining for quite a number of days, so it has all built up. So why don't you give me a sweet little treat?" Shenzequan exchanged a gentle kiss with him and said, "I just recovered from a serious illness, so let's save it for another time. I really don't have the energy." "Who wanted you to exert yourself in bed?" Xiao Qiye asked. "How could I bear to do that?" "You would." Shenzequan gazed at him and said softly, "Whatever you say now are just words to coax and trick me. Once we get on the bed, it all counts for nothing." Xiao Qiye chuckled. "Is that so? So, what did I say when I'm cajoling you?" Shenzequan lifted a finger to block Xiao Qiye's lips, which was about to drop a kiss. "If you want to hear all about it, then first tell me about Shueziao's woe." Xiao Qiye tightened his arms around him and asked, "What do you want to hear?" His background before he served as an official is nothing impressive. Shueziao's woe is an illegitimate son born of a concubine in the Shui clan. Since his early years, he has never been a favored child. Look at his age. He's older than Shi Hongxian and Yao Wenyu by a few years. By all logic, he shouldn't be attending school at the same time as them, so how did he become their fellow student? It's all because he has been neglected at their home back then, and the delay by his family caused him to get a late start in his education. This person looks refined and has a way with how he conducts himself in society and deals with people. Compared to Shi Hongxian, he seemed more like a legitimate son from the noble clans. He was already 11 years of age when he enrolled in the academy. As if recalling this person, Xiao Qiye thought it over carefully for a moment before he continued, "He's talented and intelligent, and he's willing to study hard, so it didn't take him long to stand out from the bunch of noble clans' descendants." But the good times didn't last long. A few years later, Yao Wenyu also enrolled in the academy. Everyone then started wanting to be associated with the unpolished Jade Yuanzhou to show that they are genuine talents, too. But at that time, their teacher was teacher Chang Zong, who was well known for being harsh and exacting. Once Yao Wenyu joined them, the number of times the others got criticized and punished increased. This was because no one could outdo Yao Wenyu when it came to strategies and literary essays. The moment his writings surfaced, no one else's works could catch teacher Chang Zong's eyes anymore. Shueziao's woe's place was thus stolen in those few years. After that, he never displayed his talents again. Later on, Yao Wenyu became Hai Lianji's disciple. You know what Hai Lianji is like, so you can get a glimpse of how talented Yao Wenyu must be for him to be able to become Hai Lianji's disciple. But what the others didn't know is that the one who first sent a visitation card to Hai Lianji was Shueziao's woe. He kowtowed thrice to Hai Lianji, but in the end, Hai Lianji didn't accept him as a disciple. If this had happened to someone else, then even if they didn't have a falling out with Hai Lianji, they would still bear a grudge. But that's what's so impressive about Shueziao's woe. He was there on the day Yao Wenyu underwent the rites to become a formal disciple of Hai Lianji. Not only was he there, but he was also even the one holding the crown. Hai Lianji disliked him, yet Shueziao's woe had never once uttered a word of grievance and resentment about it. Hai Lianji's residence was bestowed upon him by Emperor Guangcheng back then. The Secretariat Elder is usually particular about having his peace and staying beyond reproach. He doesn't receive local officials as guests in private, and he doesn't arrange for excessive errand runners to assign tasks. There was this one year when his pavilion collapsed. When Xue Xiaozuo heard about it, he didn't even expect any meals and voluntarily went to replace the pavilion stones for Hai Lianji. He holds Secretariat Elder Hai in high esteem. Shen Zequan recalled something and said, when I looked up his past inspections evaluations, I also saw his essays on contemporary politics from those few years when he had just entered public service. They were all discourses on increasing incomes and reducing expenditures, and straightening out the local records of fields and farms, which were also issues that gave Hai Lianji headaches when he first entered the Grand Secretariat. He is more like Hai Lianji's disciple than Yao Wenyu. Hai Lianji used to serve in the Ministry of Revenue for over 10 years, so he's very well aware of all the dirty tricks used in the local accounts. To get to the bottom of the messy accounts then, Xue Xiaozuo was the one he assigned. As such, Xue Xiaozuo took on the post of the Ministry of Revenue's Chief Supervising Secretary with the specific purpose of inspecting and auditing the various accounts. Xiao Qiye lay back down on the bed with Shen Zequan in his embrace and continued, I think that his current social connections were all established back at that time. He remained in the Chief Supervising Secretary post for 8 years, and his evaluations were all outstanding. He should have long been promoted, but he never received a promotion. Why? Because Hai Lianji had the intent to hold him back. Looks like Secretariat Elder Hai was moved by his sincerity. To think he was willing to spend time to polish Xue Xiaozuo. With this kind of connection, even if the two of them are not officially mentor and disciple, the relationship between them has already surpassed even that of one. Shen Zequan slowly furrowed his brows. Serving as the Ministry of Revenue's Chief Supervising Secretary, he can go down to the localities. He has subordinates handling the accounts under his leadership, and he also holds the special privilege of directly submitting petitions to the Emperor. It should be very easy for him to befriend anyone he wants to be friends with. That's right. The Provincial Administration Commissioner of Juexi is Zhang Qingshan. This is not a man to be underestimated. The last time when Xue Xiaozuo made the expose on Hua Saiqian, Zhang Qingshan was the man he investigated the accounts with. Zhang Qingshan's achievements are remarkable. Back then, when Chu capital fell behind on the aid relief funds to Juexi, it was him who did all he could to bear the costs and carried on handling the matter without letting the 13 cities of Juexi succumb to starvation. He is bold and decisive in what he does, he has the courage to act first and report later. A man with an iron fist. However, he has a bad temper and doesn't really socialize much with the officials from the capital. When the Hua faction and Pan Rugui were at the height of their powers, he never once paid Pan Rugui's respect. He's a dauntless man, and he has the capability to go with it. That's why even though Hua Saiqian hated him, he was not able to get him demoted. A man like him who doesn't even think much of Yao Wenyu could still be on close terms with Xue Xiaozuo and call Xue Xiaozuo his brother. So, you can just imagine how good Xue Xiaozuo's ability to make connection is. Xiao Qiye suddenly paused. It's actually all due to Xue Xiaozuo's own competence that Secretariat Elder Hai would later come to promote him. Last time, you spoke about luring the noble clans into a trap. I think you've hit the nail on the head. There's no telling if Xue Xiaozuo can really make it into the Grand Secretariat. I noticed that this person is very contradictory. Shen Zequan said. His essays on contemporary politics in the previous years were all about the commoners' welfare and livelihood. He went down to the localities and he really did things practically. Yet, he's inseparable from the noble clan's younger generations like Shi Hongxian and the likes. The matter of the silk from Quan City is a critical point. I think he's a deep one. He doesn't do things randomly, but rather, it's a preparation for future plans. Didn't you say that there was a man at the helm hiding in the Chu capital? Xiao Qiye's expression grew a little more serious. He's a good candidate. His official rank wasn't high 6 years ago when Zongbo troops were defeated, and he was young to boot. So, how can he manipulate those noble clan's old foxes? Just one-way clan is a pain to deal with. My guess is that if there's really such a person, but he should be of the same age as Liege. Otherwise, with this kind of credentials, it would be hard to convince the others. Nevertheless, the clues are too few. We'll still need to deal with them carefully in the future. Xiao Qi rubbed Shen Zequin's wrist and said, the collapse of Hua Pavilion is not without benefits. Shi Hongxian is frightened out of his wits this time. Even if he wants to look for you for a drink in the future, there is nowhere to go. Wine can be drunk anywhere. Even if his Hua Pavilion has collapsed, there are still other establishments. It's Xiang Yun who is gone, and that will be really gone for good. Shen Zequin looked askance at him. Second young master has really suffered a loss. Without Xiang Yun, I can always look for someone else. Xiao Qi looked at him. Beauties are aplenty, isn't there one right here? With his fingertips, Shen Zequin drew a few strokes on his palm and said, if you don't have 500 taels, I won't drink with you. I am filthy poor. Xiao Qi caught his teasing fingertips. I have no money, so I can only give you something else. What rare item is that to be able to move my heart? Shen Zequin asked. Xiao Qi guided his hand to land on his waist. This second young master is a fine specimen of a man. So, what do you think? I, Shen Lanzhou, am also a dashing man. Shen Zequin said leisurely, I can just admire myself in the mirror, there's no need to look for another person. You still don't know how to have fun. Xiao Qi said. How can self-admiration be as delightful as being admired by me? Both of us have to be reflected in the mirror for it to be aesthetically rousing. With glistening eyes rippling with desires, Shen Zequin asked, so what's considered aesthetically rousing? Seeing is believing. Xiao Qi checked Shen Zequin's temperature. Try it with me one of these days and you'll find out. His caresses made Shen Zequin gasp softly for breath. Both men had not found relief for a long time, and they had just survived the epidemic. All the energy that had just been recovered pooled in their lower abdomens, weighing down on it. And now, all these hugging and fondling had ignited the first signs of desires. Shen Zequin with a pure heart and few desires. Xiao Qi sighed with deep feelings under his breath. Why can't I tell which is it? That is Shen Zequin, you are calling for Shen Lanzhou. Shen Zequin asked, who do you want? I want both of them. Xiao Qi scooped Shen Zequin up, made him lean on one side, and pressed down against him from behind. Are you giving it to me or not? With half of his face buried in the bedding, Shen Zequin merely panted without saying a word. Xiao Qi bit him. His ears were sensitive, and the licking and biting caused his gasps to hitch. Scarlet tints materialized at the corners of his eyes. Chen Yang boiled some water. I'll let you wash up before dawn. Xiao Qi lowered his head and called out to him in a husky tone, Lanzhou. The bed was makeshift for emergency use. It was small and narrow. It was difficult for the two of them to squeeze onto it. Xiao Qi did not dare to thrust right in. Instead, he entered slowly and gingerly from the side. The Jinyi way outside all had keen hearing. Shen Zequin did not make a sound and tugged at the overcoat amidst those alternating deep thrusts and shallow withdrawals, even as the sensation of melting apart engulfed him. They were breathing unevenly, both afraid the other would cry out loud, so they kissed as they held onto each other's neck. The bed shook gently. Xiao Qi's repressed desire fired up, but he could not thrust hard into Shen Lanzhou. All he could do was to grind against him. Between the kisses, Xiao Qi said in a hushed tone, moan out for me again. Shen Lanzhou said, Ce. Mhn. Xiao Qi laughed. He thrusted a little harder and said, what does Cen, Mhn, Cen meant? Shen Zequin could not take it any more and did not dare to reply. Xiao Qi's finger pressed into his mouth, moving and stroking for a little while as he hugged him tightly from the back, thrusting in deep until Shen Zequin almost moaned out loud. Without them realizing it, the day began to break outside as their bout of lovemaking left them drenched in sweat. Considering that Shenzhen had just woken up, and that it was not the place for this, Xiao Qiye only did it once. Even after they hastily concluded things, Shenzhen remained flushed for a long while. He did not even want to lift a finger during the cleaning up. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. On the other end, Liang Qiushan looked at the sky and saw that it was almost dawn, so he sorted out the books from these few days and put them in order in preparation of making his report when he met Shenzhen. He took a detour to the place and saw Ji Qingqing drinking tea under the rain shelter awning, so he greeted him and asked, "Is His Excellency the judge better today?" This humble subordinate has tidied up the accounts and specifically come to report the details. Ji Qingqing did not speak. Chen Yang just happened to walk down and replied, "His Excellency the judge has just recovered from a serious illness, and the epidemic has just passed. His Excellency is also concerned about infecting all of you, so he's not receiving guests today. If the nature of this account permits, I can send it in on behalf of your Excellency later." Having been ordered by Shenzhen to record the accounts, Liang Qiushan did not dare to be careless. Naturally, he could not just hand the accounts over to Chen Yang. Thus, he merely said, "I'm glad that His Excellency is fine. Since it's not convenient today, this humble subordinate will request to see him again tomorrow." Chen Yang nodded, and Liang Qiushan took his leave. Before he left, he noticed that there was no one else around that house, so he knew that the area had been cleared of people, and there were personal guards standing watch. The Jin Yue were on duty, and Shenzhen was personally appointed by the emperor himself, so he reckoned that there was probably still work to be done. Not daring to take another look or ask another question, he hurried away. Not long after, the shadow before the door shook slightly. Xiao Qiye lifted the curtain and stepped out. He had already changed into a clean robe. There was a pair of half-aged boots on his feet, and Shenzhen's ivory fan in his hand. He asked, was he here to report the accounts? "I told him to come tomorrow," Chen Yang said. Xiao Qiye walked down the steps. Now that he felt refreshed, the hostility that had been in his expression a few days before had all dissipated. He asked, "Has Lao Hu's fever subsided?" "Yes. He's feeling more spirited too, and he ate quite a bit this morning. He wanted to pay his respects to Master. I told him to come again tomorrow, too. I'll go see him." Xiao Qiye weighed the fan in his hands and said, "The water in the streets has receded, and the sky is now clear. We won't need to stay at the Temple of Penitence for 2 days before there should be news from the palace. How about Shi Hongxian? He has woken up, but men from the 8 great training divisions are keeping a tight watch on him. They aren't letting anyone see him. There's no hurry." Xiao Qiye said with a hint of a smile. "His Majesty should have already woken up, too. Shi Hongxian can't escape this. The Chief Surveillance Bureau is waiting to impeach him. The public ditches had been dredged up, and the epidemic did not manage to break out in full. The entire matter was beautifully handled. The people at the top did not have to suffer, and it was all because of all of those who rolled and crawled at the bottom. It was time to settle the score. This Xiao Xian had now slept his fill and ate to his content. He had all the spirit and energy to dawdle with them. Chen Yang was by his side when Xiao Qiye suddenly asked, "The earring I had you made the last time, are they done crafting it? When we return to the residence in a few days, I'll go collect it on the way." Chen Yang said, "I told them to craft it as quickly as possible, it should be done by now. But what rationale is there for a master to go personally? I'll collect it on your behalf." "I have to collect this thing personally." Xiao Qiye tossed the ivory fan in his hands to Chen Yang and took the lead as he walked away. "Let's go. We'll go pay Tan Tai Hu a visit." End chapter.